Let's talk Wuchang Fallen Feathers. I've been able to play this game for a very long time now, and I'm pretty excited to bring you this review. I'm going to use footage from only the very beginning of the game as to not spoil anything, and no boss footage as well. So if you want to be here for a non-spoiler review, this is definitely the video for you. We're going to go over some things that I really like, some things that I really hope they change in the future, and answer that question, should you buy this game or not? So with that being said, let's jump right into the review. So the first thing that I want to answer right away is, should you even buy this game? Wuchang Fallen Feathers is a really fun and well done Souls-like in my opinion, so I think overall the answer is yes. This game is definitely worth the money, and you are going to find a really good challenge in this Souls-like. It's doing things that first Berserker Kazan did in some cases, and it's also carrying over some of the best Souls things that we've seen in other games as well, so I definitely think this game would be right up your alley if you are a Souls-like player or Souls enjoyer, just like I am. You're going to have an overall linear gaming experience, although there is room for exploration, especially when you get into open areas much like cities or villages that you can run through. There's so many nooks and crannies and different back roads that hold items for you to find that it really does scratch that itch of having a little bit of exploration on your linear gameplay. Now, I'll be honest, there were times that I actually forgot I was playing a linear game just because there were so many things to do in the areas and different places you go in Wuchang Fallen Feathers. I would be going down so many different back roads or back streets of cities and villages. I would be going and finding all kinds of different weapons and items and armor, and it just felt very immersive, and I think they really got the style of gameplay right for Wuchang Fallen Feathers. Now, as far as the story you're going to experience, it's definitely there, much like first Berserker Kazan, and I'm going to explain this and compare this game to Kazan a few different times, so you're going to hear me do that quite often, but I do feel like the story is a little bit fragmented at times, and I understand what's going on, but I think it could have been a little bit stronger in certain areas of the game. Now, within the story, obviously you're going to find NPCs, and I didn't really have any problems with anyone that I encountered. All of them have really decent stories. There was a lot to go over and a lot to discuss, and it really helps shape the world of Wuchang, even though the story of Wuchang overall wasn't something that I was crazy invested in. That being said, though, there was only one other area that I really didn't enjoy within Wuchang, and that was one of the gameplay mechanics, which we're going to get into in just a little bit. But as far as the weapons and spells and combat of this game, they are all really fun to use. There is a good variety of weapons. There is a awesome variety of spells. Each one felt different to use, and each one felt very engaging, especially when it came to the weapons, wielding the different disciplines and combos. It just gave Wuchang a very neat combat system, and I'm very excited if they do decide to do any DLC at any point in time to get more weapons or more spells. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that a lot of the weapons you're going to use are very cool. There is a lot of different chain weapons. There are some weapons that are swords but are also guns, and it just made for a really fun experience to go through the game. I used a ton of different weapons, and I landed personally on the one-handed sword, but that's only because I went feathering instead of any other type of combat, and I was using spells all of the time. Now, another thing that I actually really enjoyed is I didn't feel like I was fighting the same enemy throughout the entire game. I know some of these Souls-like games have a copy and paste of different NPCs or different enemies that you see throughout the game, and I'll be honest, if there were any, I didn't really notice. There's definitely the variation of certain soldiers that have either been corrupted by the feathering or have not had as much feathering corruption, but overall the monsters and all of the enemies that I fought were different enough and challenging enough to make the game very interesting and allowed me to get better at the weapon or combat style that I chose, and I really enjoyed that. Now, along with the combat and different enemy types, you are definitely going to feel like you are playing old Souls games at times, because if you start engaging multiple enemies, the game just becomes exponentially harder. I remember back in Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 and 3, where if you engaged more than 2 guys, it just became a nightmare to juggle the combat and try and kill everybody. Now, As you progress through the game and unlock different spells and more combos for weapons and different weapons, that becomes a lot easier, but in the beginning of the game, pulling 1 or 2 guys is about all you can do before it becomes too overwhelming, and for me personally, as a Souls-like enjoyer, that was absolutely perfect. Now, something that I was not a huge fan of in the game, and this major gameplay mechanic kind of plays a huge role in Wuchang, and that is the madness. Typically, I found that I was dying just going through the game, or as many players will die going through the game, your madness meter is going to get more and more full. However, I didn't have a problem with the madness meter getting full, I had a problem with clearing my madness. There are 2 separate ways that you clear your madness, and we're going to get into those in just a second, but the reason that I had a problem with this is that because I felt like I was constantly playing the game at 100 madness, which means I'm going to do more damage, which is great, but it also means that I'm going to take a lot more damage. This was super annoying when it came to boss fights because I felt like I could only die 2 or 3 times to at least figure out the fight before I was constantly taking more damage, and it made every single boss fight way harder. Now, the 2 ways that you have to clear your madness are after you die, you run back towards your Mercury, which is your version of Souls in this game, and a demon would spawn that you need to take out. Sometimes the demons were incredibly hard to fight, other times they were pretty easy, but after you kill that demon, your madness is completely cleared. Now, the second way is that you need to grab an item and take it to a statue of Shu to clear your madness. The only problem with this is that the statues of Shu are few and far between, and the item that you needed to clear your madness was actually even more rare than that. So it just seemed like I was constantly fighting an uphill battle and taking much more damage, which kind of took away from some of the enjoyment of the game. However, I can't say that it didn't make me a better player because it forced me not to die as much, think about the engagements I was taking, and really pay attention in boss fights. Now, this is something that I hope that they change in the future with either a patch or something along those lines to give you an item that you could gather to clear your madness, or at least lower your madness a little bit. It just became very annoying to pretty much play through the game at full madness, like I said, because I think it made the game exponentially harder when it didn't need to be that way. Now, when it comes to boss fights in Wuchang, they were all great. Each one had varies of difficulty, but the overall and overarching consensus of all of the boss fights that I have done, which is pretty much every single one, is that they are so fun. Each one has unique mechanics, each one has fun movesets to learn. A lot of the fights are very cinematic, and I think they did an excellent job balancing a challenge and a boss being hard to give you that rewarding experience and feeling that you get from defeating bosses in Souls-likes and in Souls games. I found personally that there were many times where I was riding the fine line between this is absolutely amazing and I want to shatter my controller in my hands, so I feel if I get that feeling, I'm playing the Souls-like right, and they're doing something right with the formula. So going back to the original question that I asked and that you all were asking who clicked on this video, should you buy or should you invest in Wuchang Fallen Feathers? I think the answer is yes. I think this is another fantastic Souls-like that has come out this year. We are getting absolutely spoiled with Souls-likes as a community, which I have zero problem with. And if you loved First Berserker Kazan and Black Myth Wukong, this is going to be an awesome addition on your shelf or in your gaming repertoire to move through the remainder of 2025 with. But guys, that is going to be it for our spoiler-free review on whether or not you should buy Wuchang Fallen Feathers or if the game is even good. So with that being said, if you have any thoughts of your own, leave them down in the comments below, as I would love to go through the comments and talk back with you guys. And if you enjoy Wuchang content and Souls-like content all together, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification on your way out. And until next time, stay safe, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one.